welcome to Shadowboxing. Today my guest is Greg Ross. Greg Ross is originally from New Zealand. When you came here?
I came here in 1975. I've been through a couple of times before, but 1975.
And what was bringing you here?
Could I be very male and say when I got to Scarborough Beach and saw all the luscious West Australian girls on the beach, the beautiful beaches, I thought, I was very young. I thought, this is paradise. I'm going to stay here. And there was untold work available.
Your background, your working background is that you are a marketing guru and also a heavy truck driver.
That's right. I know it's completely at odds one with the other. I can't help it. I started my working life as a copy boy, the office boy in an advertising agency, and worked my way up, went to advertising night school, and I topped the class there. So I was good at that sort of thing, just a natural gift for it. But I've always loved machinery, motorbikes, cars, trucks. I just love it.
Truck driving, advertising, and now politics. So why politics? I mean, people, not have too much of respect these days about politicians. And you decide to go into politics when you are getting older. What's wrong?
It's a very good question. I think there is still respect for politicians, although I think if you put the federal government and the opposition at the moment, I have no respect for any of them at the moment. I've just had it.
And have you got respect for the local politicians?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And some federal politicians I do.
So you know if you have to vote, who to vote to? You not have any hesitations, any problems?
My bitch, if you like, is with the party system. The two-party system has become all-important, more important than you and I.
But that's like calling Western democracy. You got two-party every 4 years to get, the chance to go to one or the other or to hell.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with that? That's perfect democracy. That's what people say. It's blessed by God.
I'm not sure. I think it's a blue dictatorship or a red dictatorship. Either way. So what I'd like to do is offer an alternative, and
alternative for what?
For all sorts of things, but an alternative in terms of giving, and this is a trite saying, but giving power back to the people.
Politicians quite happy to take the power from the people. They're running in the parliament, they do whatever they like. People got the right to march on the streets, like you done last week or before.
You've hit the nail on the head. I mean, the politicians that came out were the opposition politicians. They took an interest. The governing politicians
they didn't give a shit. They don't do
interested.
No.
The major party here is not remotely interested in that. They couldn't care less because all the
So that's your
advertising
democracy. So you can march all the things.
And nobody takes any notice of you.
So that's why you think some difference need to be made or what?
You've got to run. And friends said to me, why don't you do it? Why don't you stand for Parliament? Because I'm not trying to make a career.
And why not?
Well, that's right. I thought, why not? And I thought, oh my God. And if it's any help, I made the decision at a cafe in Amsterdam the other week.
But you're running for what? What's the seat and who is there?
I'm going to go for Kalamunda.
Kalamunda?
Yes.
But you're not even living in Kalamunda.
I know.
So how?
I do apologise to the people of Kalamunda. I'm living in Woodbridge, which is just down the bottom of the hill.
And?
So I thought that might be a disadvantage for me. But then I found out the incumbent, one John Day, actually lives in Woodbridge as well.
Is he?
Yes.
So he's not living in his electorate?
No, he's not.
Oh, but he's still there and he's elected by the same electorate in the past 16 years.
16 years. And you've hit on something that I believe is very important. We've just seen it in the American elections. And that is, I think there should be 8 years, 2 4-year term for everybody. And that's it. You get out because people become stale.
But that's only for the president.
Yes, but I reckon it should be for everybody.
Everybody?
You can do 2 4-year terms and gone.
That's it.
You're gone. And replaced with new blood. And
why do you think it's good for the system?
I think people just become staid, become used to how things are, and don't...
They losing their motivation, they losing the drive, or what? Or they losing the connection between the people electing them?
I think that's more the case. And currently with the present state government, I believe the drive is driven from the very top, very, very energetic Premier who wants to do things his way. I believe the talent pool is not so big the further we get further down the chain.
Oh, he's got Troy Boswell.
Troy Boswell's a very, very talented treasurer.
You see?
Very talented. I've got no objection to Troy Buswell.
He knows how to sniff the chairs, he knows how to snub the bras, you know. He's a talented man. What else he knows?
A bit of a larrikin. I don't think he's carried away with megalomania. What I do think Troy has a disease of is forgetting about people. I don't think people are quite as important to Troy as the numbers are. And I'm one of those, if I can be very esoteric, I'm a Piscean. So to me it's all about the people. You know, I need two accountants either side of me to say, listen, these are the figures, this is what's going to happen. I'll say, okay, that's what's going to happen, but we're going to do it this way because we have to take the people with us. And a perfect way of looking at that is the way electricity prices have suddenly come pouring in on us to where they're over the top.
On that note, what do you think about the living standard in here and what's happening in this booming economy?
I don't think our economy is booming at all. I mean,
I'm talking about WA.
Yeah.
The leading state of Australia.
Yes, I know it's the leading state, but we are astronomical in our cost of living. It is phenomenal what we pay for food when we go to restaurants, etc.
But no one's bothered. I mean, no one is in the street except the homeless people, because they're living on the street.
Except the homeless.
But no one is marching and saying, "Hey guys."
That's typical. A typical West Australian thing. For years, I was marketing manager of a very large company, and putting on all sorts of releases for cars and boats, and Lord alone knows what. And the one thing you learn about West Australians is they do not RSVP, and they're very lackadaisical. And you have to ring them up the afternoon of the event and say, "Are you coming?" Yes, we're coming. We're always coming. So you actually get your numbers. But they don't let you know because they're busy doing other things. You've got on business. So they don't tell you what they're doing. You have to take a guess. And it's the same with a rally, a protest. I mean, Lord, I'd never been in a protest before in my life until this year, when I'd reached the stage of saying, I've had enough. I've had enough of being ignored as a person. I've got children, I've got grandchildren. I know what my kids have to pay in the way of groceries or power.
So how do you want to change that economical sort of system? What can you do about it?
Immediately, you can do nothing. Electricity, I think, was a mistake on both the Labor Party and the Liberal Party. In a way, the Liberal Party deserves some congratulations for confronting the issue of our power should have been increasing gradually so as we didn't have the big shock we've got. The Labor Party let that slip and they wouldn't do it. You know, now that yet goes back to Alan Carpenter. Well, too bad. He should have done it. The Liberal Party did have the guts to run with that.
Yes.
But people don't have the money. Now, when you say people aren't complaining, I've been very lucky. I've been working as a road train driver, fly in, fly out, earning very big money. Very big money.
So you can afford it. You can. A question for you. If you're winning that seat, and somehow you've been asked to take a ministerial position, which one you choose? Planning or arts and culture?
I would take arts and culture.
Why is that?
Well, my real preference would be for transport, but I would take arts and culture because I have a great love of arts and culture, great love of languages, great love of theatre. I'm an amateur actor, not a good one, but an amateur actor. I'm a photographer, very keen photographer. Perhaps not a good one either, but very keen on it.
So arts is
very important to me.
Arts and culture.
Yes. It's extremely important. It's one of the reasons I picked Kalamunda to offer myself as a sacrifice or a candidate, because there's such a strong arts community right through there, from theatre, painting.
What do you think about John Day? What is he doing in arts and culture in the portfolio? Is he doing well, worse, or something different?
I've been pleasantly surprised to see the Liberal government put some money into arts and culture. I think they've felt they've sort of had to, but they've put in a little bit more than I thought, but not enough. I really believe that it's not an important thing for them. They've done it because they've thought, oh, well, we'd better do it. And I think that's been led by community leaders such as Janet Holmes at Court, etc. Sam Walsh from Rio Tinto, he's very keen on it. There are some very strong community arts leaders
who believe in arts.
Who believe in it, and they have access to Colin Barnett. He can make things happen if he wishes it to happen. I would like to see a lot more. I am shocked.
Such as, what do you like to see more? Which aspect of the arts and culture in here?
I'd like to see culture become important. At the moment it's perfunctory, and that if you build a new building or you build a motorway, you've got to put a certain amount of money into putting a sculpture up or something up. And I think it's Janet Holmes of Court that made that happen. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was. But it's done because we have to.
But one thing on that, we have to go to a short break, and we're coming back more on shadowboxing after the short break, and talking to Greg Ross.
Thousands of Western Australian families don't have enough food. Foodbank WA helps by providing hunger relief to those in need. You can help us to feed disadvantaged families this Christmas. Please support Foodbank WA.
91.3 Sport FM, Perth's voice for the sports community, bringing you cricket, interstate, state and local, basketball, NBL and local, Western Force, local WAFL, game of the day, sporting shows like basketball, equestrian, fishing, golf, harness racing, lawn bowls, rugby union, soccer. Look up www.sportfm.com.au. Listen on the net.
Welcome back to Shadowboxing. Today my guest is Greg Ross. He is running for the seat of Kalamunda, which is currently belong to, the past 16 years is that, to John Day, Minister for Culture and Arts and Planning. What's your view on education?
Education,
the policy of education.
Education shocks and horrifies me. I have always been offended since education stopped being free, because I think the most important thing in any community are the children, and we educate them. We should educate them. Now,
so what do you think, why does society not think the same? Or the society maybe feels the same, but why don't politicians think education is so important and need to be equal and free and accessible? Why they changed education into business?
That's exactly it. It's like selling public utilities, don't stop me. You sell electricity places, you sell gas places, they're owned by private companies. You sell education, you make it into a business so that headmasters get wrapped over the knuckles, or to use the Premier's words, get a biff over the ears because they say something or something's not right. How dare a Premier say anything like that? How dare a headmaster be pulled into line by the Education Department because he doesn't have the resources or his building's falling down? Don't bloody well tell me that. Don't tell me that at all, because I've got 3 grandkids and everybody else has got grandkids or kids or going to school to get an education. You talked before about...
They got a circus, not education. They not get the education. It's education is what you provide at home.
That's a problem as well, because the cost of living is so astronomical that our whole economy is built around both partners working. Whether it's mum and dad, whether it's 2 dads or 2 mums, it doesn't matter. They both have to work.
So how do you want to change education?
Okay, I want to make it free, and everybody would go, oh my God, the cost. If you came to me and to most parents or grandparents and said, we're going to have to raise your taxes by $1 a week to make it absolute free education, then do it. I was lucky enough to come up at an era when education at university was free. Now it's not. Now we have children absolutely overburdened with HECS debts, etc. I think that's an abomination. I'm embarrassed by that. It should
still not educated, because the education, the function is still making the business.
It's making a business,
It's rather do the education, so they have to pay for it and still got less out.
Yes. Look, it goes on and on and on to where education has not been valued. Teachers haven't been valued. And you get into all sorts of areas there as to why teachers aren't valued and what we've done wrong in our homes and what we've done wrong with politics. And if you're trying to make a teacher be a valuable person in our society, yet you've got headmasters being reprimanded in the media, what are the children supposed to think? Yeah, well, he got bloody told off, same as what I did, he's no better than me. Well, he is, because his knowledge or her knowledge to impart to you,
So the culture of education has changed dramatically, and it's all just going to there?
Going to pot, I think it's got too loose. I really do think it's got too loose. I'm not an expert, I must admit that. And I didn't go to university, I'm not university educated. Okay, but I had a decent education. I could speak fluent Latin at the age of 8, because I was brought up at a time when we had a great education system. Now,
getting into your family now, and your earlier age, I heard somewhere you started your life as a right-wing. How did it change from right-wing into more aware socially and became a sort of...
Going out on my own, coming from a sheltered environment, and I had a lovely childhood. I was, beautiful childhood. Great schooling, looked after, etc., etc. So I didn't really know anything except, the poor Maori people are not as educated as us, or they're not as that. And unions. I mean, I love my mum. She's long passed away, but Mum and Dad would talk about unions as if it was the end of the earth and just a horrible thing. So that's how I was brought up. When I arrived in Australia, I arrived here with $100 and a suitcase full of clothes, thinking, okay, well, see what's going to go in here. And I very soon discovered that Australia was a far more robust place socially, far more robust economically.
And that's changed your view?
Well, I very quickly learnt that the working stiff was there to be taken for as much as possible. And that whilst, and this still applies to this day, whilst it's absolutely fine for the employers and the businesses to have their own corporations, their own societies to meet with, and be able to have instant access to a premier or a prime minister, that's fine. How dare you and I, as ordinary people, have a union to represent us? No, 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 you peasants. Don't you understand? And that's why something like work choices was brought in by the Howard government, so that you couldn't negotiate collectively. You were on your own. Now that's absolutely fine, probably for you, it's probably fine for me to sit with an employer and negotiate, because we can be hard negotiators. But a lot of people are not that way. So they're just there and they whittle down and whittle down and whittle down, and they have to accept it, and they're written up for 3 or 4 years, and there you go. That's the way to be. No, it's not.
Jump to another topic.
Yes.
You got lots of experience with driving around the States, heavy truck driving, tourism driving. You surely got some opinion on the foreshore development, which is touristically important, people say, however, is causing some traffic nightmares.
Hideous problems. First of all, on the waterfront development itself, I have always been in favour of some sort of development down there. I would have preferred it at Langley Park, but you can't do that, too many apartments. I didn't want the Dubai-on-Swan monstrosity that Barnett's determined to foist on us. We don't need an inlet there. What I did want to do with that Esplanade area, personally, is I wanted to make that a mini New York Central Park with lakes, walkways. But the biggest travesty, the most maniacal thing, is to cut Riverside Drive.
Why?
Well, it's going to force traffic everywhere else. It's going to go through Subiaco. It'll even cut through Leederville and out the back of Mount Lawley onto Walcott Street, if you're going to the airport or something like that. If you're coming from the eastern suburbs, from Woodbridge, Midland, Kalamunda,
yes,
you want to get to the western suburbs. You're going to duck through Mill Point Road, through South Perth, cut over a little bit, then wind around by the university. It's going to be a rat race through surrounding suburbs.
According to Troy Boswell,
yes,
it's not a problem, you just probably travel 3 times longer as you usually travel.
That's basically what he said. He threw his hand up in the air and said, look, Perth people will just have to deal with it. Now, our roads for 30 kilometres either side of town, except out on the ocean where the white pointers are waiting for us, are clogged. From 5 in the morning, they are clogged.
Yes. What is the solution?
The solution, my God, the solution is called public transport. Now, that monstrous great Dubai-on-Swan, for about 400 million it's going to cost us, it's going to cost us a lot more because it'll be a sandpit for 10 years or more. Because don't forget, we're going into, not a recession, but the boom is over. It's going to be a sandpit. We're going to have to sell it off to people who may or may not develop it. Why haven't we got public transport? Now, Troy Boswell at the moment is busy listening to us, saying he's not, and he's putting his hand up saying, oh yes, but we're going to put this light rail in, we're going to do this.
Yes.
Where the hell is it now? What is wrong with putting in tram tracks now? Let's call it a tram, that's what it is. Call it light rail, it sounds wonderful. It's public service, but a tram. We want trams everywhere. Instead we're putting businesses out of business. We're breaking them on the Great Eastern Highway to widen the highway to 3 or 4 lanes.
What's more, Colin Barnett wants to widen the Graham Farmers.
Oh, my God. Yes, he does. At the moment, we have the safest tunnel system in the world. It is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Of course, it should have been built bigger, but somebody said we don't have the money. We always build things smaller. Yeah. Look at the bell tower, you know. I mean, it's got erectile dysfunction, the bell tower. You go to that tunnel, it is absolutely safe. There are accidents in there about every second day. Most accidents are...
But that's why they say they want to make it 3 lines.
Yes.
And you've done some experiment about it.
We did some experiments. The other day we took in a car and we took in a small truck because we didn't want to appear to be overdoing it, and we took in a small car and we put them alongside each other and slowed it down to 40 kilometres an hour, just to show people what it would be like. Now, I believe you've got it up on the screens now. If people like to look at it, they'll see what it's like with a small truck. Can you imagine 2 semi-trailers running in there alongside each other? And it happens. You get concrete trucks going through there, peeling off into East Perth. You'll get a semi going through to Welshpool.
So it became slow and unusable.
They're not going to let people go through at 80 kilometres an hour because they can't. So they're going to have to knock it down to 60 or 50. The minute somebody makes a mistake, the accident will become catastrophic. People will die, and then how do they get the emergency vehicles in there? And that's all because we're going to cut Riverside Drive off. We're not dealing now with the problems we have with hideous traffic. What we should be doing now is putting in more buses. Public transport is what it's all about. I've got guests with me from Germany at the moment. How to get them from Woodbridge, which is Midland more or less, to Aqua, for instance.
How?
Well, I can put them on the train and send them to Perth. They can then get another train, this is on a Sunday, get another train and go up to Hepburn Station, and then they wait for an hour, if it's a weekend, for a bus that might go all over the place. There's no way. So you throw your hands up in the air and you say, don't worry, I'll get in the car and take you.
Okay.
You know? And we are saying with tourism, which is in deep trouble at the moment, we are saying, bring the tourists here because we're ready. We're not. We don't have a public transport system to look after tourists. We have nothing. But we are going to build Dubai and Swan, and we're going to block all the traffic off to add about 70% to our traffic roads with traffic congestion that is growing about, I would say, about 15% a year.
Greg, thank you for being our guest. Good luck for your election.
My friend, I really appreciate it. The mainstream media has no time for independent candidates because we can't pay those big advertising bills. So the opportunity here is fabulous. It is really appreciated.
Shadowboxing is the place. Please tune in next week for the next episode. Thanks for watching.